Hello, I'm Tato Cam and welcome to my channel. Today we are playing The Letter. Previously, after finding safe haven at a bar, Mr. G or Bartender G or just G, I guess who looks like the chief, try to give Ashton a pep talk of sorts, and we didn't really get too far into the nitty gritty before we got a call from the officer that we bribed with donuts and coffee. And he gave us news about Zach, but not news enough to tell us exactly what happened, but enough to scare Ashton. So, let us continue. The whole precinct is in uproar. Officers move in and out from the main work hall with rapid steps. Phones blare loudly from the comms room, and calls are being made from the dispatch area. The rest, who has been left standing, watch the whole commotion with a nervous energy. From further back, the chief's voice booms above the uproar. I'm not even shocked. He may appear like the bumbling fool on first glance, but he has kept the city safe for years. For something to happen in his jurisdiction, inside his own precinct, right under his nose, he has a right to be royally pissed.
What do you mean you don't know?
Generally, that means somebody doesn't know.
Don't give me that shite, Sergeant! How can one person, slip past you?
Oh, so Zach disappeared?
You can't even keep an eye on one man!
His statement gives me pause. Am I wrong? Did Zach escape somehow? Now I feel like Zach did not escape. I'm not condoning it, neither do I believe it Zach's capable of doing, let alone thinking of it. But if it's what happened, I'll be equally as cross as the chief. This won't help his case. This will only complicate things with right and put both of us in a tight spot. I won't be able to help him once red tape prevents me from doing so. Yet, a hint of relief still washes over me as I walk closer to my boss, mentally preparing myself for whatever reprimand he's about to dish out.
What's happening, Chief?
Except, he merely glances at me with an inscrutable expression. Although, if I'm going to read deeper into it, I'll say it's the closest expression he can get to shooting me a pitying look. Oh, that's not good. For the first time in my years in the force, I find myself wishing to hear reprimand from him. Whatever that stare means, it can't be good. Coupled with the officer Ren's tone this morning, it does nothing to calm the uneasy feeling in me. Fuck. Boss even seems relieved to see me. After the last few exchanges we've had these past 2 weeks, you'll think the man doesn't want to see me right now.
About time you got in here.
I got caught up in something. Sorry, Chief. What's going on? Is there a problem with Zach?
He hesitates for a second before his frown eases with a long, dragged-out exhale.
I'm not sure if you can call this a problem, Frey, but I'll let you be the judge of that.
What does that mean?
Follow me.
Okay.
And you! I want your full report about this by the end of the day. It better be good or you are kissing that badge goodbye.
Sorry, I need to adjust my mic so you'll probably hear doof, 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 doof. But, my bad. The officer, he's addressing, the sergeant, a man in his late 20s to 30s, who transferred here last year, shrinks back in his chair. I don't quite remember his name. I've only seen him quite a number of times since I'm often out of the precinct. But if memory serves me right, he's the guy currently assigned to late night shift, at least until this month ends. Depending on how bad this is, he'll either be given a verbal warning, a suspension, or dismissal. It's not a position I envy for him for being in right now. Although there's really not much time left to feel sorry for him either. As soon as Chief's done roasting the other officers behind the guy, he gestures for me to follow, straight towards the precinct's holding cells. And it's a switch, and it's as if a switch has been turned off. The moment he steps away from the small crowd, the entire main lobby goes silent. For one reason or another, it feels like everyone's simply waiting for the metaphorical hammer to fall. Even their stares, before we turn to an adjacent hallway, exude the same pitying vibe as the Chief's. All of which I might have easily ignored any other day. People here can be a bunch of gossip mongers. It's only the significant glance Chief throws my way before pushing the door open that stops me. Not that there's even a need to mull it over. Because the moment he swings open, it strikes me. Oh no. A sharp, dry, metallic scent. I've already grown familiar with it over the years. It's another one of those things you'll have to get used to once they start handing you the homicide cases. Now, just a whiff of it tells enough for me to gauge the severity of the situation. This isn't the festering smell you get when someone in the room has a flesh wound. It lingers far too much in the air, hangs far too heavily, even where I stand. No. This is what you get when someone has spilled blood all over the room. This is what you get when there's a large pool of it. This is what you get when no one bothered with the cleanup of for a few hours, because forensic work isn't done yet. This is what you get when there's most certainly a dead body somewhere. I don't want to think of the who yet. There are simply too many possibilities, too many variables uncounted for here to form a single... Didn't finish reading that line. To form a single conclusion, I assume? Yep, conclusion. However, when the chief of Luxborn Police refuses to provide answers, a chill easily fills every nerve in my body. Almost in a trance, I follow after him, without asking for anything or saying another word. For the first time in years, I feel like a damn rookie again. Balk at the idea, seeing a dead body then. Now, as light flashes fleetingly from the far end of the hall, while CSI documents the scene and the forensic teams gather evidence. The only thing my instinct tells me is to run as far from here as possible, as if I don't have 10 years of detective work under my belt. It echoes inside my head like a mantra.
It's because you didn't listen.
It's all your fault. Why won't you believe me?
Over and over and over, rising and ebbing, a tidal wave of thoughts and murmurs surging and crashing against my ear, more deafening than the drum of my heartbeat and shallow gasps. Churning and heaving till the cell finally comes to view and I am offered a clear look of what's inside. Oh. Whoa, that's gruesome. The whole world stands still. In one single moment, every noise, every smell, every person in the room, all ceases to matter the second my eyes land on his prone form. There's only red. 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 Blood everywhere on the floor, where a copious amount of it has pooled on the walls, smeared on every crack and tile his hands can reach, on his face and shoulders, dripping from every gash and tear, flowing from the hollow gap where his eyes should have been.
The custodial officer found him when they brought him breakfast. It was too late.
Oh, Zach. I'm so sorry.
He was already dead by that time. Some 3 to 4 hours, according to the blokes from forensics.
There had been a struggle, based alone on the smear pattern left on the bars and floor. Only so much as this small cell will allow him. I can already imagine how it went down. He was likely left with no other choice, cornered like an animal at the mercy of his killer. In this cell, there would have been no escape. The only thing he would have been able to do is shout for help. Perhaps the same plea written on the floor closest to him. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help. That he didn't even get. And it calls for a whole lot of questions. Not the hows. Logic has already flown out the window from the start. She has the means to get to us, get to all of us, bars and walls notwithstanding. The whys, though.
No one heard him? Not even one from the guys on duty last night?
Because Zach's not an idiot. He would have asked for help. He would have yelled.
Oh, one of them did, but thought nothing of it.
Then why didn't they do anything? He's just a room away!
They must have assumed your friend's just asking for attention. Henry wasn't clear on the details when I questioned him about it. You've been serving in this precinct for more than a decade, though. You should be aware by now how rowdy the folks we detain here can become. But that's not the only problem we have here. Someone got in and out of this place without anyone noticing. Even the surveillance footage is a bust. Tech's going over it now, but I don't think we'll get anything from it. The media will have a field day when they learn of this, Frey. Keep it mum for now. I'll let you know because he's your... well, you deserve to know. The poor bloke's your friend, after all. I just don't want the Commissioner hearing of this before I can tell him anything. Or at least, until we've figured out how the butcher got in.
You think this is an inside job?
What else can it be? It's either that or we have a damn good criminal mastermind walking this city.
That's a logical thought. Why, honestly, if the same thing happened to me, I would not first think, yep, those ghosts. So it's fair. Really, I want to say something. I want to tell him that this isn't what he thinks. That all this time, the Anselm Butcher never existed. This is a curse the people of this city has been lapping up for centuries. The way things are going, we'll simply find ourselves at a dead end. Chances are, you'll just have to find an innocent chap to blame for everything, like what Wright did to Zack. A scapegoat for things they can't explain. But how am I supposed to tell anyone, let alone get them to believe my words? It'll sound like an idiot. I'll sound like an idiot. They'll likely brush me off the same way I've done with Isabella's warnings. In the end, clenching my fists at my sides and gritting my teeth is all I'm able to do. Zack's lifeless face stares back at me, and accusations in them sharp and searing, an expression that etches itself deep within my mind once the first officer waves us both out of the room. Another ghastly image I will never be able to forget. Another memory that will probably haunt me until my last dying breath. Another regret. Chief dismisses me barely an hour later, sending me off with nothing but a light pat and another sorry expression. I'm not entirely sure if that's supposed to be reassuring. There's plenty more to do, a lot of people to call and tell, and all of it falls on me. No matter how awful the news I bring will be, I'll do better if this comes from a person his family and friends know. Still, my body refuses any notion of movement. The thoughts of telling Rebecca and Isabella about this will both upset them. I don't even want to imagine what his grandparents will say. They're good, kind, warm-hearted people who have given me another family, even without me asking for it. They welcomed me, invited me every time, easily reminded me of what having a whole home feels like. I thought I've already forgotten it. Zack's older sister will definitely show up in my apartment, though, ring my doorbell, and punch me as soon as I open the door, just like last time. She's right. I'm the kind of person who brings nothing but trouble. She's known all along that Zack should have stopped hanging out with me, warned him several times. Zack has often laughed her concerns off. I used to think it's because he enjoys the friendship as much as I do, despite a huge part of it going unspoken between us throughout the years. Now, Now he's dead. I thought I had more time. I thought he'd be safe. I acted too late. And in the deafening silence of my car, the only thing I'm able to do is close my eyes, rest my forehead against the cold surface of the steering wheel, and scream. Scream until my throat bleeds raw. What does the journal say? Oh, poor Ashton. Poor Zach. The precinct was in an uproar. Ashton arrived after giving in a few stern words to one of the junior officers. LPD's chief inspector quietly led him to where the holding cells were, and there at the end of the hall, scream until my lungs burn. Scream until all that remains are the guilt and tears. ... Dot. The sun hangs lower when I drive back to the pub and drag myself inside, still too unsure how to break the news. Sorry, updated again. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of decent crowd on the week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with the bad case of a hangover, after all, even him, which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, and after what happened to Zach, this swiftly puts me on edge, even before I can fully process and analyze the scene in front of me.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. And the way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Let me guess, Becca? Another question forms in my head along with the small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there. Why did you think Ash stopped me yesterday?
But we don't have any other choice, Becca! There's really no other way! We have to go there! If you'll just...
Isabella, no.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out, both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over after all of us has gotten a decent rest. Turns out sleep isn't just some of what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it, in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible. There's this tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zach or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, following Isabella's. But part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even know. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, it's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Oh no, the dramatic dun 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 music is playing. It reminds me of like a soap opera. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely see her seething, but from what I've seen yesterday, I don't think I ever want to be at the messy end of it. The way she's glaring up the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her, right now, already says everything. And randomly, there's a picture of food for some reason. Empty plates have been left neatly piled in one corner of the table. They occupy conversation that turns sour sometime after a late lunch then. Good thing they're already alone and nothing's left to be spilled, because in the next moment before it can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this letter ghost everything.
You're blaming me again!
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you! If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, she did tell them not to mess with the letter, and in the end, they did it, so... Kinda not her fault. At least not alone.
But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
Okay, we'll see where this argument goes in the next episode. I am Tia Cat. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon.